Welcome back to the Proper Thieves podcast. We're here with Ryan of the Health and Wealth podcast. Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Will you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Sure. Yeah. So I got into the health industry because just through my own experiences, really, where my own health was going downhill, like a lot of people's do, as I got older, and I decided that it wasn't something that I wanted to accept as aging. I looked into it, and I began to research and find things out that things weren't what we're taught, and I began to experiment on myself with changing how I ate, my lifestyle and how I was living, and I got amazing results. And then the more I looked into it, I then began to apply it to other people and see that I could help other people. And from there, I started the podcast and then my coaching that I do as well. And my aim is to educate as many people as I can in how they can take control of their health as well, like I did. So that's my main aim.
Awesome. Whenever you first started, like how bad was your health? Was it like a physical thing where you needed to lose a lot of weight, or was it more mental? Kind of where were you, and what were like some of the first things that you implemented that you noticed change in?
Yeah, so it wasn't like drastic. There's been people like, who are hugely overweight or, they've had a really bad health scare. It wasn't that. It was more like people would put it down to age. I was starting to gain. I'd always been sporty. I'd always been pretty healthy. I was always into health and fitness, but I was gaining weight. I was, just sore all the time. I have a physical job and I'd be sore, and you just think that's part of life, and, low energy, stressed, sort of brain fog and struggling to concentrate, and, not sleeping that well, and all these things, and even things that I probably didn't pick up at the time that I only realized after they got better that they were even issues. And yeah, some of the first things I implemented were intermittent fasting was one of the first things I introduced, which I'm sure you guys have heard of that. It's kind of popular at the moment, but that was one of the first things I did was I cut out breakfast, which for me was a big step. I don't know what you guys are like, but I was the person that could not leave the house without breakfast. I had to eat in the morning, or I'd be like feeling like I couldn't do anything. That was me. And that was the first step. I removed breakfast, and it was incredibly easy. Like I was shocked. It was so easy, and I felt better. And that was one of the first steps. And I began to feel better from there. And then I began to change up the actual foods I was eating, and just continued to improve from there.
What's your fasting window that you do?
So it's kind of changed over time. Right now, about 16. So I kind of do an 8-16 now. I went through a period where I did pretty much OMAD. So just one meal a day. And sometimes I'll still do that, but most of the time I'll be 2 meals, and it will be sort of a 16-hour minimum, sometimes a bit longer.
Okay. Whenever you started cutting out breakfast, what were some of the first things that you noticed? Like your energy levels going up, or just feeling better, less brain fog?
Yeah. So yeah, energy did improve, because I find what you get is in the morning you feel like you have to eat, and you eat, and obviously the foods that we're eating most of the time are wrong. We're eating like a cereal for breakfast, which is one of the worst things. You get your blood sugar spikes. You might feel a bit of energy, but then it just dumps like mid-morning, 10:30, 11. You're feeling like you need to eat again. So I didn't get that anymore. It was just steady. So I felt better. Yeah, brain fog I would say cleared a little bit as well. And I think more changes came from when I started to clean up the actual foods as well. But definitely I felt a difference in the energy from just cutting out breakfast. And I felt a lot better just from that one change. Like through the morning, I felt great, right through up until lunch when I'd start eating. So it was quite a difference for such a small change.
Yeah.
What were some of the foods you cut out of your diet?
So mostly, I started with more of the processed carbohydrates. So I ate what people would class as a healthy diet. I wasn't eating rubbish. I wasn't eating junk food. It was mostly, home cooked meals, things like that. But I was eating probably a lot of pasta, wraps, things like that. So I cut them out and kind of went down to mostly meat, eggs, some dairy, and I was still eating quite a bit of fruit and yogurt at first. Eventually, I cut them out as well and went to
fruit,
what's yeah. So I'm pretty much eat what there's different names for it, and some I don't like the names so much. So people, people say carnivore diet and some people say zero carb diet, but I'm like, carnivore technically is not if you're eating dairy, and it's technically not zero carb either because there's some in dairy. I basically eat what I would call a no plant diet. So
Okay.
just meat and some dairy. But yeah, that it was. I basically removed all the carbs gradually, starting with the more, and then down to everything.
Why did you choose to remove fruit?
It was kind of just experimenting as I went. The more I began to research and find, and fruit's not the devil. It's not it's not on par with processed sugars and all these things that come with chemicals. But there are also negatives to it as well as there's some positives to it. And I just tried it for myself, and I love fruit. Personally, I actually miss fruit probably more than I miss the other carbohydrates, pasta, potatoes, things like that. But I did feel better without it. And so that's why I've stuck with it. At some point, I'll probably do a little experiment where I'll reintroduce it for a bit and see, do I feel better or worse? But, when I removed it, I felt better without it.
Okay. Say you have a client and there's somebody that is just wanting to start changing their diet and lifestyle. What do you gear them towards first? Is it more towards like workouts and getting them in shape, or is it more towards diet first?
Always diet first, yeah. So exercise is important for our health, and especially if someone wants to build muscle, exercise is the key. But in terms of weight loss, improving your health, diet's the key. Like weight loss is 95% diet. Exercise is great, and to do it alongside, brilliant. But it's about the diet. If you change up your diet, I could get someone massively obese to lose all the weight they need to lose it without doing a single bit of exercise, just by changing their diet. It's food is the key. So definitely we'd start with diet, but I would encourage them to start to introduce exercise as well, but not at the beginning. I would actually, especially if someone's really unhealthy or really obese, I would definitely say, let's get a couple of weeks of starting to nail down the diet before we even think about introducing exercise. We don't want to do too much at once. So diet for me is definitely key.
Okay.
Do you have everyone kind of do the same diet plan, or do you base it based on the person?
Well, I do it based on the person, yeah. So, there's sort of maybe core principles that we have and we'll kind of work from, but you have to do it personalized because not everyone is the same. It's not one size fits all. And also you have to meet people where they are, and everyone's in a different situation. And some people could maybe just jump straight into what we want to get people to. Other people could be a 4-month journey to be able to get them there. And the last thing we want to do is say, someone comes in and we say, look, this is how you have to eat. This, cannot get away from that. And it's too much for them and they give up. And that's the last thing we want to do. So, the main thing I try and do as well is educate more than dictate. So I want to help people understand why they need to eat that way and be educated around what it does for them, what it doesn't do, so that they can get to a point where I'm going to coach them and help them to improve their health. But I want them to get to a point where they can do it without me. I want them to control their own health. So, I'm not going to try and force them, say, I don't want to give them a plan and just say, look, just follow this. I want to teach them and say, look, these are the foods we maybe want to eat more of because of this. This is what we may want to avoid because of this. And then they can go and make an educated decision themselves.
Yeah.
So since you eliminate all plants, do you have any kind of supplements you take to get those nutrients that you'd find in like spinach or kale or green leafy vegetables? Really? No,
I don't take any supplement. So some people do supplements that have carnivore. I don't. For a little while, I did an electrolyte drink, and just to kind of see. I didn't really feel any different when I had it. So no, I don't take any supplements. Just meat, eggs, dairy, and I'm absolutely doing fine with that. Which a lot of people do find crazy because there's a lot of things around it and myths, like vitamin C and other things that people don't think you'll get. But no, you can get everything on that diet.
So you must eat some pretty high quality food then, if you're just doing meat, eggs, and animal-based foods.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, one of the foods I eat the most of is just like, well, we call it minced beef here, ground beef, you call it there, which I suppose most people might not say that's that high quality, but that's an awesome food. It's absolute powerhouse because it contains all the what people would call the offcuts of things. some extra fats thrown in, the fat offcuts, some of the offcuts of organ meats and stuff are thrown in, but that's all brilliant stuff that we need. So that's actually one of the main things I eat, and then some steak and things like that. So yes, you don't have to go kind of overboard with it. And if you can get straight from a butcher or straight from the farmer and grass fed, then brilliant. That is better for you. But also you can do it just on supermarket stuff as well, and it's still gonna give you good benefit.
Yeah, I eat a ton of grass-fed ground beef for my diet.
Nice.
Like probably daily at this point. Do you find a lot of farms in Dubai?
Well, that's the thing. I've only been here a couple of weeks, so I'm looking to find my sources and stuff. At the moment, we're just on supermarket stuff, and I'm hopefully going to see if I can, make some connections to get some decent stuff. But for now, I'm just on the supermarket stuff.
What are the supermarkets like in Dubai compared to UK?
Pretty good. I mean, pretty similar. You have if you want to eat pork, the supermarkets have like a separate section because obviously it's Muslim country over here, but they do sell it. They just have a separate section you go in. But yeah, other than that, you can get pretty much the same things you could get back home. It's just in the UK, I did have a local Welsh farmer, and I got all my beef direct from him, grass fed, which was awesome. So I don't have that set up here yet, so I've got to try and replace it.
Yeah, I feel like that's the best way to go if you can just find a farmer, build a relationship with them, and then get meat straight from the farm. Yeah.
What do you think about non-homogenized, like raw milk?
Yeah, I mean, dairy is a controversial one. I eat a small amount of dairy. Raw dairy is better because it's unpasteurized, but some people do still have issues with it. So I'm not there are people that are like raw dairy is amazing and does this and this, and everyone should have drinking all this milk each day, raw milk. I'm not over the top on it, but I think it's better for people than pasteurized is. And if people are fine on it and get no issues with it, fine, go for it. But I think as well with dairy, fermented is better. So if you have like cream or cheese or butter that's fermented rather than the straight milk, that's better because in the fermentation process, the bacteria will consume the sugars in it, and it will also consume some of the proteins which people have issues with, like the lactose. So, sorry, not the lactose. The lactose is the sugars, but it'll consume some of the proteins, the casein that people have issues with. So fermented is better, especially for people who are suffering with health conditions.
Oh,
I never knew that.
I didn't either.
That's interesting.
I'm a huge milk drinker. Like,
yeah.
That's one of the things I love. I don't think there's anything better than waking up in the morning and going downstairs and just getting a glass of milk. But might have to try to cut that out a little bit. Because I was on like an all ground beef diet for a while and I wasn't eating anything else. Like I would just do one meal a day and I'd eat like a pound or pound and a half of ground beef, and I wouldn't add any seasoning to it really. I would use ghee and salt, and I would just eat it like that, and I enjoyed that. Eating ground beef or minced beef all the time, have you found like specific ways that you can cook it for your family and everything where everybody enjoys it, or do you just eat it kind of with salt and butter? How do you like to cook your meat whenever you eat it?
My favorite way to have it is just homemade burgers. So I'll make them into burger patties and have it like that. And sometimes I'll have cheese on, sometimes I won't. And then sometimes I can do them with eggs and bacon and whatever else. That's one of the best. I do now and again, I'll do something we call in our family taco bowls, where we kind of slow cook the mince for ages. And then we do add some herbs and spices to it. On most of my food, I don't have any flavorings. With that, we do a bit and slow cook it. And then we'll have like some toppings, so you choose your own. So I'll have cheese and some Greek yogurt as a topping. My wife probably have some avocado and maybe a little bit of salad with hers. But that's nice as well. But yeah, I mean, most of the time it's just burgers. It sounds boring, but that's what I enjoy.
Yeah. So, excuse me. So why did you choose Dubai of everywhere to go?
So we love Dubai. We've been here quite a number of times on holiday, and we really love the place. And we'd been thinking for a while that we wanted to. In fact, a couple years back, maybe 3-4 years back, we were actually in the process of emigrating to the US, to Florida, which then with the COVID stuff, that one fell through. So we left that. So we'd been kind of looking at leaving the UK for a little while, and then Dubai was the next thing, you know, we really liked it. And for maybe the last 1-2 years, we've been thinking about it. And then at the beginning of this year, me and my wife were like, you know, this year we need to make it happen. And we're going to manifest it, and it's going to happen. We were thinking like maybe by the end of the year we'll get out there. And then I think 2 months into the year, so yeah, I think March, we just got a call from our estate. And, oh, by the way, the landlord, because we were renting at the time, said the landlord wants the house back. You've got 2 months to get out. So we were just like, right, well, there's no point finding somewhere else in the UK and setting up. Let's just do it now. So we just, in the space of 2 months, we had to get it all sorted and get out. So that's where we are now. So we just took it as the universe just giving us a kick up the butt and saying, don't wait till the end of the year, just make it happen now. So here we are.
Yeah.
What part of Dubai are you living in?
So we're in a place called Damac Hills 2, which is a community. So we're about like 30 minutes from central Dubai, from like the Palm and Marina and places like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're reasonably close to everything. It's a nice sort of family community here.
Is that towards Sharjah or the way?
We are out, we're east, which is, I don't know everything exactly yet. So I'm not I'm not fully sure. I don't actually know which direction Sharjah's in, but we're out to the east.
Okay. I think Sharjah's to the east of Dubai. What's the cost of living like there compared to UK?
To be honest, it's about pretty much the same as where we were in the UK. It can vary across the UK. We were about half an hour north of London, so we weren't quite London prices, but it was, you know, it's gone up a lot in the UK. I'm sure America's the same. Last couple of years, the cost of living's gone up ridiculously.
Yeah,
so here it's pretty.
Like London.
Yeah,
It's really expensive.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so it's pretty similar here. It's a bit similar to a lot of places where, I mean, if you want to live the lavish life, the cost of living can be ridiculously high. But also you can live just normally here, and it's pretty much the same as it was in the UK.
Oh, okay.
So you weren't there during those storms they had recently, the flooding?
No, we actually, no, we arrived after that. We missed that. So yeah, we missed out on the storms. We got here after all that was sorted out. So we were lucky.
That's good.
Yeah, apparently when it rains in Dubai, like there's not great drainage systems there, so it just pools and collects. So if
Yeah,
there's a massive thunderstorm, the whole city floods almost guaranteed.
Yeah, they're not built for rain. Just like I don't know what you're like where you live in the US, but in the UK we're not built for snow. And whenever it snows, just a little bit of snow, the country comes to a standstill. Like in Europe and places where they get snow all the time, they just carry on. We fall apart. Dubai's the same for rain because it doesn't rain here. It can go a whole year without raining here, and then if it does rain badly, you know, then they're not built for it. They're not prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're here in Austin, and Texas in general is not really a cold weather state. So if we have a random freeze, it can bring us to our knees. It's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How have you noticed, because I know in the US, like our fast foods or convenient foods are like super, super unhealthy. And that's what I feel like 80% of people's diets consist of, is like the chicken fingers, the fast food burgers, all that jazz. What is that like in the UK and in Dubai? Like the fast food foods?
I think similar in that they're an issue, but I do find a lot that in the US, even in their junk food and their fast food, you guys seem to have much more added ingredients and chemicals than in a lot of other countries, which, you know, I don't know exactly the reason for that. I think some of them are banned in other countries, but even like the same brand will be different in different places, but it's still an issue here. I agree, it's one of the main issues with health, because it's the highly processed food. There's all these chemicals that are coming with it, that we don't even know what they are, and we're eating all this stuff that's just not natural to be eaten by humans, and that's giving us an issue. So it's a big problem, and it's just down to, we live in a society of convenience, and everyone wants stuff now. They don't want to wait. They want it straight away. They want it convenient. It's delivered to their door. And so getting people to eat real food is hard work sometimes, because it takes a little bit of effort to eat real food. And so the convenient food is a big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, America has some of the lowest quality food in the world. I know a lot of countries have actually banned American-made stuff, depending on the type of food.
Yeah.
Which you wouldn't expect, but it's true.
Yeah. I mean, you'd think.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, you'd think with, you know, America's obviously advanced in so many things and ahead of countries in so many things, and you would think that, oh, they'll have the best standard of food, but it's almost the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. And whenever you do try to get like healthy, all organic or grass-fed foods, it's super expensive.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the thing.
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they try and
grass-fed
kill you
beef
with
just
that.
keeps going up and up and up, man.
Really?
Yeah. Have you ever heard of mononutrition?
Mononutrition? No, I don't think I
Yeah, it's
have.
basically the idea of having basically one type of food at a time. So like
Okay.
instead of having a meal that's like sweet potato, steak, broccoli, you would have just the steak and then maybe an hour or two later have a sweet potato, then an hour or two later have your broccoli. It's apparently easier for your body to digest
Really?
just one simple thing at a time. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's big in the jiu-jitsu community. The Gracies have a thing called the Gracie diet, which is like a patented Brazilian diet, but they're big on mononutrition, like one thing at a time,
Oh,
and pretty fit dudes.
yeah.
Well, I know that if you, for people who do still eat carbohydrates, if you eat your protein first and you eat your carbohydrate after, you have less of a blood glucose response and less of an
Mm.
insulin spike. So it is actually better for you if you do it that way.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually saw the other day that was Alex Stanchu on his podcast. He said that when you have carbs late at night, and probably your last meal before bed, it actually can inhibit your growth hormone production at night.
Mm.
So it's better to have your carbs earlier than like your last meal of the day should be pretty much protein only, like just a steak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good to know.
Yeah. 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 Carbs later on are normally an issue as well. They can interrupt your sleep and things like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything that you do whenever it comes to eating and your sleep? Like, do you try not to eat anything before you go to bed, to preserve your sleep quality or anything like that?
Yeah, so I try not to eat too late. In fact, what I've found is because I don't eat any, well, pretty much no carbohydrates, when I have it late, it hasn't really been an issue for me because it's more the carbs where you get in that blood glucose spike and your cortisol comes up and your insulin's up, and that can affect you. With protein and fats, everything stays pretty steady. But I do try and eat earlier. I'm trying to be more strict on it now because as humans, we have to think about what's natural for us. And obviously, if you think about humans before electricity existed, we lived by the sun. And so we would have ate during daylight hours. We wouldn't have ate when it was dark. And so I try to stick to that. I try to eat during daylight hours. At the moment, I try and have my dinner at 5, try and be done eating around them, is what I'm trying to stick to now. But I think you're better off eating your food during daylight hours because naturally as humans that's what we would have always done, so that's what we're going to be better suited to. So yeah, I think eating late is not too great for us.
Okay. And how long have you been doing this, that you've been helping clients with their health and fitness and diet and stuff?
So the coaching itself has probably been around maybe 6 months. So I've been a couple years where I've been started with myself and got really into it and been doing the podcast, and then it's more recent where I've got into the coaching side because I just want to help people. It's almost like I've found this a lot with people I've spoke to who've been on a similar journey to me and are doing a similar thing to me and trying to help people and get the word out, is that once you discover it, you kind of feel like you've found this secret because the mainstream nutrition is so messed up. It's so messed up. Basically, everything we're taught and that's in the mainstream and that we learn growing up is basically completely wrong. If you basically do the opposite of what mainstream advice, government advice is, you'll be healthy. So we have to start over. And then it's actually, if we remove all that rubbish, it's actually so simple. And so you feel like you've just discovered this secret and you want to tell everyone. So, that's what I'm trying to do with it. So yeah, it's been about 6 months that I've been doing that, and it's great. It's fulfilling when you get those results with people. It makes you feel good because you're helping people.
Yeah. Do you have like a big success story yet? I know you've only been doing it for like 6 months now, but do you have like a big success story, somebody that was just like really not doing great, and then after they talked with you and you helped them out a little bit, like now they're just doing exponentially better than they were?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things. There's a guy we had with hypothyroid issues, and he's not completely yet, but he's almost off his medication. So what we were doing is just gradually lowering his medication as he was doing it. And with conditions like that, the medical industry doesn't believe you can ever come off medication. You're on that for life. Like that's it. You're on that for life, and it's going to get progressively worse. So, we're doing the opposite of that. Then there was a guy who had Crohn's and ulcers, like in his bowels and stuff, and we got him healthy and feeling great in like it was like a month, and he was like feeling amazing, which is a quick turnaround. And I've recently been working with a guy who's had years and years really, really terrible health. His gut is absolutely messed up, and we've been working through a protocol we have for rehealing the gut and really just starting from scratch, just stripping everything out. And he's only say a month or so into it, but been getting great results. Like I spoke to him the other day, and he said that he's not sick at all now, which was unthinkable for him from before. Like whenever he was eating, he would be sick and he'd be throwing up and he'd be getting ill, and he doesn't have any of that. There's still some issues he's got we're sorting, but the difference is crazy from just a short amount of time. So there are a couple of the ones that we've been seeing so far.
Can you tell us about the gut health and what your protocol is to rebuild that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So gut health is something I'm really big on because it starts with the gut. I don't know. You've probably heard the famous saying, which is all disease begins in the gut, by Hippocrates.
Yeah.
And it's completely true. Everything starts in our gut. So for most people, that's where all their issues stem from. So everything like autoimmune, cancer, diabetes, and obesity, all of these things, they stem from gut health. And so it's a case of just stripping everything out the diet, literally going back to scratch. Something that people might find controversial is removing all the fiber. Fiber is a huge issue for our gut. People talk about you have to have fiber, and fiber's so healthy. But actually we have to remove the fiber from it and start over. So we use things called meat stocks, which is, it's kind of like a bone broth, but it's not the same. And things like that, and back to basically just some meat and meat stocks, and then we slowly build up and start to gradually introduce foods and see whether they're ready to have them or not. And this can take, for some people it can take like a year. For some people it can be a couple months, but it's hugely important that the gut is the main thing that I concentrate on with people, because everything comes from it.
Yeah. Why is it, sorry, this interested me. Why is it that fiber is so bad for us? Because I grew up with the grandma. She's like, "Oh, you got to get your fiber. It cleans out your gut. It grabs all the nasty stuff and pulls it out of you." Why is it that fiber is so bad for you? Like, what is it that it does to us?
Yes, fiber. If someone's got a healthy gut and they have a small amount of fiber in their diet, they'll probably be fine. But we basically have no use for it. So we can't break down fiber. So it just goes through us. That's why people say, "Oh, it'll clear you out," because it goes through. So we're not getting any benefit. And some of the things people even say about it is, "Oh yeah, it's got some roughage to clear out your bowel and stuff." And I don't know if, especially for anyone who's suffered with Crohn's or any other kind of bowel issue, you do not want roughage in your gut. Our gut cells are extremely sensitive, and fiber causes a lot of issues. And the only real benefits that there are is that fiber will fill you. You can't actually absorb it, but it fills you up. So for people who are eating a load of rubbish, having some fiber in your diet means you're eating slightly less rubbish. So hey, a benefit. And the other benefit is that there's a tiny amount of some bacteria in our stomach will break down a tiny bit of it and produce something called butyrate, which are the cells in our gut can use as energy. But also, if we're in a ketogenic state and we're burning fat, we have BHB, which beta hydroxybutyrate, which will do the same thing. So we don't need that for the energy. So it's not necessary in our diet. I've had zero fiber for 2 years. I go to the toilet absolutely fine, better than I did before. And there's really no need for it. And in a lot of interventional case studies where they've people with Crohn's and with bowel issues, the fiber group, the zero fiber group, always resolve all their symptoms. And the more fiber they have, the worse it is.
Interesting.
Wow. Yeah.
It's amazing how much of our dietary beliefs are kind of wrong. Like you're talking about governmental things. Like for the longest time, they tried to say that cholesterol was bad and fats were unhealthy, and you wanted a very low fat, low cholesterol diet. And for a lot of people, once they have these nutritional beliefs, they don't shake them. They don't change them.
Yeah, it's something that's difficult. We have to deal with that a lot with clients, with especially low fat was so ingrained in, I think, my generation and maybe the generation before that. It was low fat was just ingrained, and it's absolutely shocking advice. The cholesterol, actually, the guidelines for cholesterol were actually very quietly removed a couple of years back, and there's no longer any recommendation for an upper limit on cholesterol, but they don't talk about that. They just quietly removed it because, you know, cholesterol is actually essential to our health. All of our cells are made from cholesterol. You know, we need it, and
Hormones are.
that's it. Exactly. And the only reason that fat and cholesterol are classed as bad is because back in the, I think it was the 60s, there was basically the battle between sugar and fat. You know, sugar was causing all these diseases, heart disease and the rise in these, but sugar companies paid scientists to fake research to put the blame on fat and cholesterol, and unfortunately it's stuck ever since then.
Yeah, my parents are like that. I tell them how many eggs I eat, and they say, "Aren't you worried about your heart health?" I was like, "No, I've had this conversation 30 times now. It's been debunked or disproven." But it's really, yeah, some people just cling to those things. Like,
I mean, some people cling to them, and then you have those people that just don't know anything. They'll just eat anything at all and just
Yeah.
think that any type of food is fuel. Any type of food is good for me. As long as it feeds me, it'll give me energy and I'll be fine. And I mean, I don't know. We talked about this the other day, kind of going back, like what you said, that the doctors and hospitals, like once you're on a prescription, they just want you on it for life.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's important for people to hear stuff like this from you, because it's like you don't have to be on it. Like if you can cure the base, like find out what the base symptom is or the problem and fix it by just changing your diet, super, super easy. I mean, easier for some people, maybe not for others if all they eat is fast food and junk food and all that. But if they can do that, I don't know. It's just hard to explain to people that are so psyoped by everything that's been put out in society up until this point.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the brainwashing is deep, and we're brainwashed to feel that the medical system is there to help us, and they wouldn't lie to us, and we need to trust what they say. And too many people trust it without questioning. And like you said, changing it with diet, I like to say to people, it's not easy, but it's simple. But it requires discipline, and unfortunately, for a lot of people, they don't have that. But it's so simple, and the body can heal anything. You know, in my belief, in my experience, there's nothing the body can't heal if you just get out of its way, stop poisoning the crap out of it, and eat some real food. And every single thing can massively improve and pretty much fully reverse. I've not seen anything that can't be, you know, affected by that in a big way. And it's trying to get that message to people is hard because people think that you know, medical system knows best. You know, I've had doctors on the show that I spoke to. They get about 4 hours worth of nutritional training across like a 5 year,
yeah,
you know,
That's it.
degree.
Wow.
Yeah, it's hardly any at all they get. And then these people are thinking, oh no, you got to trust the doctor. The doctor doesn't know any more about nutrition than you know. You know, they're not taught that. Doctors are doing a job. They're trained to prescribe medication to people. That's what they're doing. And I'm not having a go at doctors. That's their job. That's what they're trained to do. That they're trained to. You come in, they diagnose the problem, they give you medication. That's all they're trained to do. They're not trained to look at your lifestyle and look at your nutrition and say, well, actually, you could just do this and you'd be fine. Because it's a business. Healthcare is a business. It's not a service to us. It's a business, and we have to understand that.
Yeah. And what's terrible about it is that's why a lot of the foods, especially here in America, are like so processed with chemicals, because if we're not getting sick, they're not making money.
Yeah.
So it's
It's a
something,
perfect.
it's just something that people need to become conscious about and do a little bit of research and dig into it. And I don't know, see who's giving you the information that you're getting and what is their end goal.
That's it. You have to follow the money. Is what we always say. You know, there's always money involved, And these people are telling you, as you say, it's a perfect business plan. A lot of these huge corporations, once you trace it back through a couple of levels of who owns what business and then who owns that business, most of the people with their fingers in the pies of big food companies are also have their fingers in the pies of big pharma. So they're poisoning you to then give you the cure to it. So it's a perfect business model.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on calories in versus calories out, and
Yeah,
getting
that's
your
a good question.
macronutrients?
That's a good question. Yeah, calories are, and sorry if I offend anyone with this. Calories are one of the most pointless metrics there are. I understand how it helps people because it gives them a measurement, but calories are meaningless. Our body doesn't use calories. Our body uses the nutrients that we give it. The ratings of calories are done by using a bomb calorimeter, which our body is not. In order to get the values. That we have no idea how many calories our body's using. We have no idea how much calories are in food. The calculations are wildly inaccurate. When you read labels, when you see it in a restaurant, anything. And it's not about calories. It's about how our body reacts to it. It's about the nutrients, and it's about our hormones, or what control weight gain and weight loss. So, I mean, yes, our body needs energy, but it doesn't work. And people talk about the first law of thermodynamics and all of this stuff, but it applies to a closed system, which our body's not a closed system, so it doesn't actually apply to us. And one of the perfect examples I always use is you look at someone with type 1 diabetes. Someone with type 1 diabetes, you could feed them 10,000 calories a day, they won't gain weight. Doesn't matter. They will not gain weight because they have no insulin. And to gain weight, you have to have insulin. If it was just down to calories and energy, then they would gain weight, and they don't. So it's how our body responds to it. People say about people have like my maintenance is 2,500 calories, and if I drop it to 2,000, I'll lose weight. So calories in, calories out must work. But no, because you're just eating less food. So is it the calories, or is it the amount of food you're eating, the mass of food you're eating? Calories don't weigh anything. A calorie has no weight attached to it. So it can't affect your weight. So I understand why people like it, because it's an easy metric to use, and people like a measurement. They don't like to just have to do too much themselves. But yeah, in my view, calories just don't work. They work until they don't work. But if something works 80% of the time, then it can't be true. It needs to work 100% of the time. So yeah, I'm not a fan of calories, but if someone uses that and it helps them, go for it.
Yeah, I tend to agree that a lot of the calories in, calories out group, or the macronutrient group, they tend to eat really low quality food. And they just say, well, I've hit my protein, now I can have this bowl of ice cream and it won't affect me, and it's 700 calories, and that's what I need. But I always say not all calories are equal.
Yeah,
and the micronutrients are much more important than the macronutrients, like you're saying.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think the calories were introduced by the food corporations, I think, because it's one of the biggest scams. Because if you're obsessed with calories, you don't care about the nutrient value of your food. I'm sure you've seen it with people. They'll walk around, they'll look at, how many calories is this? They don't care what's in it. Real health, as we said, is your body doesn't use calories, it uses nutrients. You want to know what's in your food, what you're actually eating. But they've got people so obsessed with calories that, this is 10 calories of pure chemicals, and there's some natural food over here for 100 calories. They're having the 10. Because it's less calories, and everyone's conned. And that's another reason I don't like calories, is because you're not thinking about what you're eating. You're just thinking about calories. And like you said, they're not equal. You're going to tell me that 1,000 calories of Mars bar is the same as 1,000 calories of steak or of broccoli? It's not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your body won't know how to break it down and use it. If it's steak, your body knows exactly what that is. If it's some kind of powder, a protein cookie or something like that, it'll just like, well, I think this is protein. I think I put these nutrients and building blocks here, but
yeah, that's it. That's one of the things that's so great with animal foods, is everything's exactly as we need it and ready to absorb. Even when you look at vitamins and nutrients, like you can get vitamins and nutrients in plants, but they come in plant forms, and we've then got to convert it into human form in our body before we can use it. And that process is not that effective, so you're going to lose a lot of it. So when you eat some carrots and it says you're getting this much vitamin A, you're not, because it's not. Retinol is the usable form of vitamin A, but from carrots you're getting beta carotene. Then you've got to change it into retinol in your body, and you end up with way less than what you think you're getting. So animal products, it's there, it's usable, it's in the form. We're an animal. that we need it in that form, and we can consume it. Protein, it's in the perfect form. It has all the amino acids we need. We can absorb it, use it. Fat's the same, and we get the vitamins and nutrients we need. So yeah, it's just using a bit of common sense and thinking, well, what are we, and what do we need to eat and use, and just eat that.
Yeah, and you can still get the same nutrients and stuff from plants and stuff through the animal because their bodies can process the stuff that we can't, and so we can still get the nutrients, but from that, and people don't look into that and see that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. What good would we get from eating grass? Nothing. But a cow can take grass and it can turn it into a perfect steak. I'm happy with that. I don't want to eat the grass. I'll take the steak.
Yeah.
So what do you think about eating crickets and bugs?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose some people might try and class that as meat, but no, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not looking to be eating bugs. I'll stick to real meat. Although there are civilizations and certain traditional societies where they do eat some bugs, and I'm sure they get some nutrition from it. But I'm not looking for it to be one of my main food sources.
Do you ever recommend somebody doing like a body detox before they start a new diet to just to like cleanse their entire system and their gut from all the nasty stuff, all the processed stuff that they've been putting in their body for so long? Do you ever recommend like a body cleanse or something like that before starting a new diet?
Um, with the detoxes, I'm not a huge fan because while some of them I'm sure give benefit and work well, a lot of them are just a bit of a scam, really, and aren't really anything. The best detox you can give your body is just removing all the crap and some fasting. Fasting is one of the best ways to detox, and eating proper food. You can do things like sauna. Exercise helps you to detox. Do a sauna, some cold therapy. I think a lot of the detoxes out there are just marketing and gimmicks, so I'm not big on them, but I'm sure that there are some that are beneficial. I'm not going to say they're all rubbish, but I'm not too big on that because I think if you clear the rubbish out and you start eating a proper diet, sorting out your lifestyle, incorporating some fasting, your body will detox itself. So that's kind of more what we go with, is making those changes into more of a lifestyle than just like a one-off thing.
Mm-hmm. And it's doing like what you said, getting out of your body's way and letting it heal itself.
Yeah, that's it. Because we have to look at the level of toxins. Another thing with a lot of these cleanses, people think they can just do a cleanse and then go back to normal. But especially in the current environment we live, there are so many everyday toxins that we're putting into our body and poisoning ourselves with. And if you're gonna detox yourself and get rid of a load of it, great. But if you're then gonna go back to normal, what was the point? You might as well have not done it. Mm-hmm. So it's about making those changes and keeping it up, because that's one of the main reasons is we're just poisoning ourselves every single day. So it's going to be hard for people to heal if they just carry on doing that.
Yeah.